Hi, I'm Mike Elissen, and today I will give you an overview of Ludum Dare's infrastructure using a fancy diagram. In the past videos, I have explained the journey that Ludum Dare has taken together with Akamai. Here I will summarize everything by going through the reference architecture that we've created together. And if you are interested in building out a similar tech stack, feel free to use this as a guide. Ludum Dare is a fantastic reference when it comes to build, deliver, and secure with Akamai, as Ludum Dare is now using all the key Akamai solutions in each of these areas. First, we'll start with the users, the legitimate traffic that is accessing the ldgem.com website from their browsers or mobile devices. Akamai's Edge DNS handles the DNS queries to route the users directly to the Akamai Intelligent Edge platform. The request will be routed to the nearest and best performing Akamai Edge server for each user. The Akamai Edge server will first go through the secure phase and determine if this is a legitimate request. And Akamai's App and API Protector solution checks all the security mechanisms configured. The Akamai Edge servers will determine if the request is a properly formed HTTPS request first, otherwise it will get blocked. Next, it will verify the IP address and country that the request originates from. It will also make sure that the IP address is not sending too many requests at once, and this is to help protect against large DDoS attacks. Finally, it will scan the URL, the headers, the cookies, and the payload all together to make sure that there's nothing harmful inside according to our web application and API firewall. Once the request is determined to be legitimate, the request moves on to the deliver phase. Of course, if the request is not allowed, protections will kick in and the user will receive an error message instead. In the deliver phase, the Akamai Edge server inspects the request to see what type of content is needed. If the request is for a static asset, such as HTML, JavaScript, CSS, or even for a game build, the Edge server will check its cache. If it is in cache, it will be directly served to the user, which will significantly speed up the performance. If the content is not in cache, it will ask its friendly neighboring Edge servers for the content. And once the Edge server gets it, it will place it inside its own cache as well. And this is really what powers Akamai's content delivery network and ensures that content can get delivered to millions of users all at once, all around the world. If the request is not something that can be cached, like a login for instance, this dynamic content request will be routed towards Ludum Dare's cloud computing infrastructure, which is of course powered by Linode. The optimized routing towards the Linode servers should also help speed up the request. The Linode PHP server will handle the request properly and return a HTTPS response to Akamai, which will then be forwarded back to the user. Now, of course, for hackers, requests that fail to pass any of the inspections will simply be blocked by the Akamai Intelligent Edge platform. Now, in order to prevent hackers from bypassing Akamai altogether and attacking the Linode servers directly, Akamai controls all DNS routing and hides the original hostnames and IP addresses of Linode. Linode servers rely on a feature called Akamai Site Shield, which only allows for Akamai IP addresses to access those servers. And this is how the flow between users, Akamai Edge servers, and Linode Cloud Computing works together. Ludum Dare, of course, also has access to all sorts of information and data through helpful reports that can be found inside of the Akamai Control Center or accessible through API. Traffic reports, error logs, and attack data are all available so that Ludum Dare can improve the performance and security of the entire Ludum Dare infrastructure, the web application, and their API microservices. The key solutions used here are, in the build phase, Linode's dedicated CPU, compute, and object storage. In the deliver phase, Akamai's content delivery network solutions such as Akamai Ion and download delivery. And in the secure phase, Akamai's Edge DNS and App and API Protector. And that concludes our tour of the Ludum Dare's reference architecture. Ludum Dare relies on Akamai for each of the critical phases of every web application and API microservices out there. Now, with this reference architecture in mind, you can replicate this for your own application and infrastructure needs. You can find a link to this fancy diagram in the description below. Thanks for watching Build, Deliver, and Secure with Akamai. We hope to see you again soon, so please consider subscribing to get notified on the latest videos. See you next time!